Welcome, everybody, to the September 8th meeting of the Commission on Aging Well. I'd like to call the meeting to order at this time. And the first agenda item is to the approval of the minutes. Everybody had a copy of the minutes sent to them. Are there any additions or corrections? Barbara is usually the one to speak up, so there must not be any. Anyway, if there are no additions or corrections, do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Minutes are approved. There are no public appearances, so we'll go to our first agenda item, which is the Senior Center Behavior Policy. Jill?
Okay, I incorporated some of the changes that you guys recommended. I think the main one, some of it was about behavior, and we talked about the use of weapons. We wanted that to be more kind of on its own versus included with the second one, including the brandishing of a weapon. So we added that into this as its own bullet point at the bottom there. So that was the major addition, and then we talked about just code of conduct as it relates to somebody that might have mental health issues or dementia, and how we would handle that. We wanted to make sure that we were conveying that certainly if that's a reason for negative behavior, there is exceptions to that. So that is sort of the latest draft. So any comments about that? Or it looks okay to you guys, or we can keep tweaking it?
I thought it
Looks good.
Looks okay? Okay. So now there's another thing that happened a week or so ago that kind of relates to this code of conduct that I wanted to get your opinion on. So we have a client that was convicted of a violent crime and did time, and there's a possibility that this particular client wants to come to the center. We felt like if there was behavior that was very concerning, that a verbal warning or asked to leave might not be severe enough based on the history of this particular individual, and that could we add a statement? Would it be fair to add a statement that the director, per the director's discretion, that we would go to the third violation action and say privilege is revoked, because there's some concerning behavior that I don't know how many chances I would want to give this particular individual. And again, this was a conviction of a violent crime and served time. And some of that behavior has been exhibited, aggressiveness, that kind of behavior. So I wasn't sure how to approach a situation like this. If I felt like, the behavior that might occur on a first visit is enough of a red flag to say, I don't think this particular individual should come back here.
Didn't we have another policy that had that language in it, that you didn't necessarily have to follow those steps? I think we put that in another policy's language, that those steps didn't have to be followed, that.
Was it with the pet policy maybe?
I don't know. I can't remember now. But I know we had that discussion
I feel
before.
like you're right, it might have been the pet policy. Okay.
But right, I don't think you need to, you don't have to follow it in lockstep.
Right. And so, so I want verbiage that gives me, because I don't think I have it in this policy.
No.
So maybe I'll look back at the pet policy, which I could do kind of quickly here, maybe, without.
Unless you add a bullet point under the following behaviors under code of conduct, someplace in there, aggressive behavior that circumvents the procedures of enforcement or something like that.
Right. Let me see.
Because I don't think you've got aggressiveness listed there. got stealing, interruption, and that is
It's a little bit of a concern. I've never really encountered this, and I was speaking with the social worker who's working with the client, and she had brought up some concerns. And, in terms like, do we allow this client to come even initially? And I said, well, I don't feel like I can do that unless there's cause to say, if I have to give one chance. That's how I felt. But do I have to give 3 chances? And that's where I was like, I don't feel like I should have to if I feel like there's going to be a situation created that's very dangerous.
I think that you should have that flexibility built in this particular document. But I don't think that you need to itemize what the situation is for going to whatever step. I think you should just say the director has the right to be able to implement at any step.
Right.
Up to your discretion.
Well, that's what I was thinking too, but I wanted to run it by you guys. How?
In the interest of protecting you as
there
well
is.
from a liability perspective, in this litigious environment, I can certainly see where somebody would take issue with you solo doing that.
Right.
So if it might be in the institution's best interest to have some language about you in partnership or with approval or with, I mean, not to tie your hands in any way. I think the notion of being able to take quick action
Right.
is necessary,
Yep.
but at the same time protecting you from a challenge. I'm not certain how we would do
Right.
that.
I think too, this should probably be extended beyond you, because what if you're gone and David is in charge?
Right.
Or what if both of you are in a meeting
Right.
and one of the social workers? So it should be staff, I think.
I don't know why this policy won't open. Okay. Let me try to open this one more time, because it would be good to be consistent with the language that we're using. Well, that's my IT skills. Okay. All right. So I think what I'll do is I'll get the verbiage that we did use on the PEP policy and include it underneath those steps that give my staff the authority to not, have to follow the first violation, second violation, that procedure, and go right to the bottom. Because again, it's not something that I feel comfortable saying already to this particular individual. You can't, based on your history, you can't come here. Time was served, it's not up to me. But if there is, again, a behavior that would be rather frightening, I just feel like, we can't allow that. So,
And then actually, it isn't so much about their past or about their history.
right,
It is about their current
correct.
threatening.
Right, but knowing that
Behavior.
that behavior was so violent that I don't, that has to bleed into it. Somebody else might come in and I know that they're just having a day and an episode, and you know what I mean? And I would say, okay, this is your warning. But this situation, because I do know the past, I feel like I don't want to give a lot of chances.
So then there wouldn't need to be language in a policy that talks about that history? I think,
No,
but rather just that
at my
threatening
discretion,
current, and
yeah.
I would agree that it is not laying out specific, even specific threatening behaviors, but
Right,
just
right,
anything.
right,
You should be able to act expediently.
right. And expel them from the facility.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Go ahead, Barb.
It just might be a good opportunity to look at all the policies and
Yeah.
make sure that that language is the same in all of them.
Consistent.
So that you have that, so that you're consistent.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know if the language for a pet would be the same as a
Yeah.
violent offender. So,
No,
but I do want to
we-
be
the-
very consistent.
The part about following that,
Absolutely. Yeah,
you don't have to follow all of those steps, as
Right.
a simple phrase like as situations dictate, or as the.
Yeah.
I was just playing with this a little bit. You did something more with a safe environment, maintaining a safe environment. Okay. Maintaining a safe environment is our priority. Enforcement for inappropriate behavior that demands immediate attention is up to the discretion of the director. If somehow you can frame it like that, and these are the steps that are normally followed,
I like
because, you know, it could be you have to call the police, it could be
Oh,
all kinds
yeah.
of things. So you're not kind of liable to be picking on somebody.
Right, I don't want it to,
Right, because it
Appear
could
that
be
way.
anything. It could be somebody off their meds or.
absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah. No, that I like, can you send me that?
I will.
verbiage? Okay, all right, wonderful.
And perhaps something like you or your designee, and
Yeah.
that may address then the need for assistant director or some other
Right,
person.
okay, yep, I like it. Okay, thank you, I'll bring this back one more time, but it feels good to really flush a lot of stuff out. And this was really timely when the social worker came to me to say, I just have these concerns, and I was like, oh, well, this is the perfect time, because we're working on a behavior policy, and that's a good thing to include, so,
Okay, so we'll look at that next time.
yep, we'll bring it back next time.
So we'll move on to personal care policy.
So this was something I talked about last time we met, because we were talking about people that might need assistance, and we did have an episode where a client had come in alone on the bus, and they needed assistance in the bathroom, and and we, at that point, we didn't have policy to say, here's how you have to be able to perform those functions independently. I can't assign staff. It just happened again. Somebody said, well, this individual, they can get on the bus, but when they get to the senior center, they need a wheelchair, they need this. And I said, unless this individual can assign a companion, I cannot assign staff to do that. So I had created this a while back, and I just think COVID hit maybe. Yeah, 2020, and then I don't know, it never went anywhere. So this is related to more of being your personal cares when you come to the center. So open to any feedback about this.
The question I had, when you talked about orientation to time and place, it sounds like the person is not capable to make his or her own decisions. And if that's the case, the participant will receive a notice that, well, are they cognitively capable of receiving that? And so it was kind of this catch-22. I didn't know how
Oh,
to deal
sure.
with it. So someone got on the bus without a companion. They should not, but they don't have the wherewithal for you to explain why they can't come because they need to have the companion. So I don't know what the answer to that is.
Yeah.
If they have a companion care, you could talk to them, but if they don't, and they're not cognitively able.
Right. And really, now that I think about it, does it really matter if they know what time it is or day it is? Half of us don't. Half the time know what day it is. Is that really important? If they're able to independently get to the center, whether it's getting on the bus, and they get there and they don't know what day it is or what time it
But I
is.
mean, if they don't know enough to understand
Correct.
you sharing.
Right. But maybe I just take that out completely, because that doesn't really impact me, if they don't know what day it is or what time it is. I think it's more of that. This came up because of that personal care situation. Like, I need help going to the bathroom, and we're like, oh no, we can't. This is something that I cannot assign staff to do. And so maybe it's just those two things.
I'm not so sure. I mean, I think that describes a certain ability to function, or it has at least a separate meaning from forgetting what day it is, or, I thought it was Friday all day today. I think orientation to time and place, I don't know that I'm sure it has a medical meaning, but I think it does describe a person's ability to function independently.
Maybe if I word it differently, because, we've had to work with families that their loved one came and they wandered, and we had to track them down and left the facility. that is sort of related to that, maybe. But I'm not sure the right verbiage that would address that, but it's kind of that. I don't know where I am, so I'm going home, and, we have had people in the parking lot or whatever, and then had to talk to family to say, this behavior, unless you come and, have a companion, I can't have this individual come. So, maybe when they're reading this, that it's not necessarily the client themselves, but a caregiver or a spouse or something like that. So maybe we can describe what that means, orientation to time and place, and somehow adds another bullet about wandering or, it doesn't feel like the right word, but
You look at similar policies, maybe for memory care units.
yeah.
Borrow some language.
Exit seeking is a term.
Is it?
Well, yeah, I mean, looking to get out is exit seeking.
May we excuse the
Yeah.
hospital's calling?
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Excuse me, I'm gonna.
Are you the vice chair? Barb. Okay. Yeah, so maybe add exit seeking. Yeah,
So, some language.
okay. So do you feel like I should reword orientation to time and place? Or make it more descriptive what that means?
I do
I see
think
what you're
maybe,
saying.
maybe looking at some memory care policies
that's a good
or
idea.
something. Maybe there's some language, certainly language that I'm not familiar with.
Yeah, I agree.
If you switched it to disorientation to time and space, would that give a different meaning?
Well, I don't know. To me,
Because,
it still
someone could have
reads-
MCI and just
Right.
not know what day it is or
Right.
whatever, but be able to function.
Exactly. That's, even if it's a disorientation, that still doesn't mean that they can't enjoy lunch and get on the
Right.
bus, with, and then when the bus gets there, we're like,
Yeah.
okay, it's time to go, but, yeah. I think the memory care policy, I can look at some of that. I think that's a good idea and put that back in there. It's just really something that keeps us as a staff, you just don't have to feel bad when a family comes in and says, oh, can my loved one come? And if they can meet this criteria, absolutely. We had an individual come in a wheelchair not too long ago that needed some assistance, and there was a companion with that individual. And it was nice, because I was like, boy, that looks like they're not going to they can't ambulate. I can't get them to the bathroom, but there was a caregiver with them. So, yeah, okay.
Jill, should it say something about mobility?
They don't have to be, again, you don't have to be, you just have to, ability to toilet oneself, yeah, we have another client possibly coming with a diagnosis that's the client that was on the bus but needed a wheelchair to get, to get around. They could get on the bus, but then, so maybe that part is the mobility piece of, you have to be able to move around, independently or with a companion. So, yeah. And I don't want it to look like we're trying to really limit who can come. That's not my intent at all. It's just if somebody really pushed back, I can say, this is our policy.
So does function independently capture perhaps a little bit more generic language around?
Yeah.
Although the mobility issue, I could see how families would question that they might think that if their loved one
Is
comes
not
from
mobile.
From a senior or from a assisted living facility, is bused here, that there would be somebody here that would help transport them in.
Right.
And we know that we cannot do that.
Right.
So
right.
while policy, it's nice to keep policies where they should be, but there are just some deal breakers.
Right.
So
The bathroom is a big deal breaker.
Well,
Truly, if somebody
yeah.
needed a wheelchair, I would go get
And-
them a wheelchair. That's not a big deal.
And maybe that's specific enough.
Yeah, and I still, even there are folks that have wheelchairs that I'm always, I'm happy. I'm like, yeah, you need a push, mostly because they're moving too slow. Let's go. I'm gonna give you a push.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't want that to stand out to some folks like, well, geez,
Yeah.
I don't know if they can really,
You don't want roadblocks.
could someone move them to, the bathroom and then they can, well, yeah, I mean, we have people, but if it's truly expected because they cognitively don't know how to move a wheelchair, then that goes back to the cognition, So yeah, you don't want to dive too deep in the woods because then you're just like, what did we miss? So, yeah, mostly the feeding and the toileting is the major things.
And the exit seeking.
And exit seeking, yep. Yeah, for sure.
And did you say sometimes people expect there to be extra wheelchairs when they get here? Did I misunderstand?
Well, they don't expect it. Well, this individual said, oh, I might need they already knew we had them, available. Yeah,
Should
so,
they let you know in advance so they are available? So if
oh, absolutely.
you've got 15
Yeah.
people who need it and you've got
Right,
two
because we
wheelchairs.
might not have one. Yeah, for sure. But I don't want to open that floodgate either, that they're, oh, I don't want to do that because they'll help me. Because we can't guarantee it every time, so we might have to incorporate something, you need to be, if you're in mobile, have your own device to move you around. We can't supply that, so, yeah. Okay, I'll look into that language. I'll look at some wording around mobility too. Any other comments? Go ahead, Barb.
You've got the authority statement on the bottom, but it's not on the bottom of the, again, just
Right, the
another
consistency.
consistency on how the policies are written.
Should that statement, that statement is very different than having the discretion to, move around and make my own decisions. This says you guys have to be involved.
Well, this is just the policy.
Yeah,
To amend.
It's the way the policy is written and who has authority to change the policy, like you can't just,
oh, right,
so I think that's just a general statement that
Right.
should probably be on all of your.
okay,
all
perfect,
of-
that's it, yeah. Great, okay. All right, so no approvals, I'll just keep plugging away at these until they're perfect.
Okay, next on the agenda is a report from the Senior Center Friends. Gail?
Gail, you want to introduce yourself too?
Oh, hi, I'm Gail
Yeah.
Schauer. I'm taking Marcia's place today to report about the Friends group for the Senior Center. During the month of July, the Friends supported the Senior Center with the amounts of $691 for special needs, $187.50 for patient advocacy, and $60 for scholarships. Other expenses were newspaper subscriptions, showcase updates, and bingo prize money for a total of $225. And then I also have the September report, which the Friends supported the Senior Center with $459. The scholarship, that was for special needs, $459 for special needs. The program scholarships, this time there are 4 scholarships, and it's for $80 now, and $11.58 for the showcase updates. The Friends are delighted to report that we had a profit of over $1,000 for the brat lunch due to the generosity of all the brat eaters and the businesses. They donated money. Oak Bank, Comfort Keepers, Stephanie Blankenheim at Edward Jones, Quick Trip, and of course Metcalf's Market, where we got the brats donated or at cost. And then travelers returning from the Colorado Antique Trains Tour and from Iceland report great experiences through Mayflower Tours and Cruises. A reminder to the commission and to other viewers that if you do decide to go on any kind of a tour or cruise, if you go to Mayflower Cruises and Tours.com, you can book through them, and we, as the Friends of the Senior Center, get a commission if you mention the Fitchburg Senior Center Friends. Some of the people that had gone to Iceland, that was not a tour that was booked officially through the flyers that we had, and we got a nice refund from them. Also, we have 15 travelers, including myself and my husband, signed up for the National Parks and Southwest Tour through the Senior Center Friends, and that leaves on September 25th. So,
I hope it cools down.
yeah,
I didn't mean to be like, wah, wah. That'd be a fabulous trip. Thanks, Gail. It just is a nice reminder how much support the Friends give us every single month. The Special Needs Fund is so critical to help clients with just a variety of needs. It just runs the gamut. So I really appreciate the Friends and all they do. I think you're still looking for members, right?
yes, we could use a couple more members.
Yeah, I
if
think we
anyone's
have one.
interested.
I think we recruited one.
good.
Andy did yesterday, so
Oh, good, yeah, because
we
we
passed the
do
names along.
need a couple more
Yeah, yeah.
people. And you don't have to, people were concerned that you have to go, like, ask your friends for money and things, and I said,
Oh, yeah,
that's
no.
not, that's not, or your people that that you do business with. If you want to do that, that's up to you. but
Right, right.
You don't have to, that's not part of the job. So.
No, it's not. It's all just fun.
And we had a very, very good time at the Broad Fry, all the
Yeah.
people that worked on it. It was a fun event, so.
Yep, for sure.
Gail, could you also remind people about the Amazon? Because I think if the more people who know that money can funnel back here, the better.
Right, there is Amazon Smile. If you do buy from Amazon, there is a link that you can go to for Amazon Smile. And if you do your Amazon on your cell phone, it'll automatically come up once you connect with the link. But it's Fitchburg Senior Center Friends, and make sure you get the right one, because there's also one in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
And, but that helps us immensely, and they only pay us every quarter, and the first quarter that we've been doing this, we got $47, I believe, and the next quarter should be coming up again pretty soon, so every little bit helps.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for remembering that. Awesome. Okay.
Jill, report from the director.
All right. Okay, so let's see. We'll start with National Senior Center Month, which is September. And to recognize it, we're going to have a big party at the end of the month on the 27th of September from 5 to 8. We did this a couple of years ago for our 40th anniversary, and it was so fun. We wanted to do it again. And so the Red Hot Horn Dogs will be here, hopefully on the drive up, weather permitting, and they'll play from 6 to 8. We have a food cart. We're going to have beer for sale. We'll have soda and water as well. And we'll be displaying a lot of different information about programs. We might do a cardio drumming demonstration. So that's how we're going to wrap up the Senior Center Month, sticking with our own theme of reimagine aging. Because every time I go to get an alcohol permit, people are shocked. Why would the senior center want an alcohol permit? And I say, why wouldn't we, right?
If anybody deserves it.
Absolutely. So anyway, I'm looking forward to that. Also, to recognize National Senior Center Month, in lieu of doing a proclamation, which I'm just never a big fan of, at the September 13th council meeting, I'm going to have my staff up here in person and introduce them and thank them for what they do. And then we're going to show a short montage of clips that Fact TV is so graciously helping with. Looking at Jeremy back there, of what's happening. The videos that Mandy and Amy have been doing for many, many years, and it'll be funny and informative and really just give a nice snapshot of what the Senior Center offers. So looking forward to that. Patio update. So we kicked off our fundraiser last week. In the newsletter, you all got this flyer. I don't know if you can see that. Anyway, there's lots of them at the Senior Center. We're sending out postcards to individuals as well as businesses. We are hoping to raise $50,000 in 3 more weeks. But, if we don't, we'll still keep going. I'm happy to report we're already up to 7,000. And that's just with the generosity of a lot of folks that saw it in the newsletter. So we're excited about this project. I think it will really offer an opportunity for more social connections. Linda has offered to do free yoga on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10, and any proceeds from that will go to the patio. And it's a perfect example of why we need a patio, because Linda and all the folks were out on the sidewalk yesterday, and I think it'll be a really nice space to have outdoor yoga when that patio is done, as well as other small group activities, and just adds to the welcomingness, I think, of the center. And so we're excited about this project. So remember us if you want to contribute. There's even a little code you can scan. You can donate online. So we'll keep plugging that, and hopefully we'll be wrapping it up at the end of the month at our party and just be like, we reached our goal. So we'll see. Otherwise, budget time, citywide, I think we go, pretty soon, Dave, maybe in the next week. All the departments present to finance. If you recall, ours was pretty status quo except for I put in a volunteer coordinator, a full-time citywide volunteer coordinator. I like the idea of that. I am such a strong believer in volunteers because the evidence is clear what volunteers can do for a department and even a city. And so it's just a vision that I've had for years that somebody at the city level would be able to manage volunteers, direct them to certain departments that might need help. And volunteerism just builds community, I think, and it makes you feel a part of something bigger. And a lot of people have gifts to give. And so anyway, and just a reminder too, that patio is being solely funded by donations. So we thought about putting it in the CIP, and then there was a discussion and we took it back out, which I'm in support of. I think this is, we don't absolutely need this patio. There's a lot of serious needs in the city, but I think this definitely is a great project to support, but we are going to fundraise for the whole thing. Countywide, we put in a budget request for, and I say we, I mean the focal points in Dane County. All of the senior centers are the focal points that provide case management. We asked for $117,000 for case management. The county came back with $51,000, which is nothing when you divide it around between 12 of us. We asked for $165,000 for nutrition because ever since COVID, everybody's numbers in nutrition, particularly home delivered, have just skyrocketed. The county did put in $165,000 for nutrition, and that's pretty generous. I mean, nutrition is definitely funded mostly by the federal, Older Americans Act funding, but the county does supplement that program, so they did support our request of $165,000, and then there was $31,000, almost $32,000 put in there for the cultural diversity program to support the Black, Latino, and now Hmong cultural diversity coordinator that we all have access to, and the county did include that. Now that $31,000, we won't see that. It'll go to the agency that runs the program, which is New Bridge Madison, so it helps support those mostly wages just to retain staff because there's a lot of turnover in that staff. I think just because they're wages. So now we go to Dane County supervisors and start the advocacy around that in the budget hearings. Program-wise, I mean, things are going well. Last week, we did have 35 people here for Hispanic bingo, and that is credit to the cultural diversity program that we work with to get folks here. And so we're doing that monthly. We've already, in the newsletter, there's a lot going on, brain and body fitness with the UW Med students. It doesn't even happen, I think, until the 13th and the 20th, and we've already got 37, I think now 40 signed up. So people are out there, they're reading the newsletter, and that's great. We're looking into cycling without age. I don't know if I talked about that before, the rickshaws that, you can pedal, but these are electric now, so it seems a lot more doable for somebody to have an electric bike and I keep thinking I'm just going to transport people back and forth to the senior center. So still working on that. The Edgewood nursing students have started, and they'll be connecting with clients that could use just a little extra TLC. And that's a great program. And Amy kind of manages that. And we've started the program with the UW pharmacy students or pharmacy doing the training of trainers that will then train older adults about over-the-counter medications and how some of those medications might interact with some of the drugs that are common that you might be taking, or just in general, what over-the-counter medicines are more safe. So that's kind of exciting. So those volunteers will be trained, and then we'll be offering the the training to older adults. I just wanted to mention the Plan for Growth update. Thanks to Barb sits on that, and Linda and Nan Hoffman. We're moving forward, just trying to keep within our vision of being the leader. I don't remember the whole vision statement. And reimagining aging. But what we're trying to do is put together focus groups of non-users and users and just get more information about how if you're a non-user and never stepped foot into the senior center, why? And if you're a user, how can we better meet your needs? Why do you come here? What is it that appeals to you? And so I'm very grateful for their input and just keeping us on track to continue to have a broader vision of what comes, what are we going to do next? What's coming down the pike? And how are we going to meet the needs of people? Town of Madison, we've been doing the outreach events. The final one is September 22nd. We have connected with several
What was
older adults. Okay.
Okay.
And so, and then we'll be going over to the Novation Commons in October just to do a meet and greet and let those older adults know that come November 1st, we're ready to serve. And so that will be fun. Mandy's looking for, speaking of Town of Madison, we're still looking for 5 new home-delivered meal drivers because we do feel we're going to need another route over in that area. So she's putting a lot of pleading out there. Still working with several hotels to housing clients and have lots of concerns about what happens to those clients when the money runs out. So working with the county about that. The Limerick is also contracting for that program, so that means more. We'll be taking on more clients that were living in hotels. They were going to have this lovely apartment, and then in spring of 2024, the money will be gone, and what do we do? And so it's a big, big problem. Because the ideal plan is, we help them get jobs. That's just not even realistic. So anyway, that's just really bothersome to me. And just on the topic of housing, the rehab hospital broke ground, and that's going to be back here, opening next October. They are breaking ground, or they did break ground for a place called the Courtyard, which will be right over by McKee Park, and that's going to have 38 memory care, and that's going to open next spring, and then it's going to have 72 assisted living, and that will open next fall. So we don't particularly serve clients in these facilities, but it's really nice to know we're going to have more places like this in Fitchburg, particularly memory care. It's just so needed. And let's see, I think the luxury housing up behind Target is up and running. We were over there for a kind of just an informational fair. And then the Limerick, they're a little behind schedule, but they're supposed to open sometime this month. So we'll have, I think, some new folks coming from there. And I think that is everything I have. Any questions? All right.
No? Are there any other announcements?
Oh, fast.
Okay, the next meeting then is October 13th. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Linda.
We are adjourned.
All right.